is the Phylanice Nashe Experience Podcast. Hello, world, and welcome to the Phylanice Nashe Experience Podcast, an audio series of lighthearted and sometimes third eye-opening conversations on entrepreneurship, leadership, and relationships from the African American perspective. I am your host, Phylanice Nashe. Welcome. And today's guest is a true example of resilience. She began her career as an attorney. That was not her passion. That was not her love. And then she pivoted and started a business in an entirely different industry, the healthcare and beauty industry, all while starting a family, battling cancer. And if you've been waiting for the right time to take the leap, this story is going to encourage you to take that jump. I'm going to let her tell her story. So let's welcome wife, entrepreneur, and owner of Skin by TJMK, Mrs. Tiffany Miller-Kennedy to the show.
Yeah.
Yay.
Thank you for that awesome welcome.
Thank you, Tiffany. I'm so glad that you made it. I'm so glad that you accepted the invitation, because when you and I were together, and I would have to say this was my birthday facial. And Tiffany she has an awesome story, and was telling me during my time with her. And I said, girl, you have to be on the show. You have to be on the show to tell the story, because you embody resilience. And so let's just kind of just jump into it. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Tiffany. Where you're from. You started out as an attorney, right?
Yes. So yes, you got the story right. Tiffany Miller-Kennedy. I am originally born and raised in Louisville, Kentucky. And at the age of 23, I went to law school at University of Kentucky in Lexington, Kentucky. And then 2005, I moved to Nashville for my first legal job after law school. And actually, me, my husband, and our then 6-year-old moved here, and I began my legal career. So we've actually been in Nashville now almost 16 years. So yes, about 2005, I started my legal career. Everything was going great. And somewhere along the line is when I realized, I'm kind of bored with this.
Yeah.
And, I know, as you and I have spoke about this before, I went through a lot of life challenges that kind of got me to this point. It was not easy. It was not overnight. It was not even recognized, until I was actually living it and going through it. But to kind of fast forward through all of that, around 2012, me and my husband had an almost 12-year-old and a new pregnancy. And so, with the pregnancy came a lot of welcoming surprises. And one of the biggest surprises, of course, that I received at the end of that is that at 2.5 weeks postpartum, I found out that I was stage 3 breast cancer. So of course, that was a devastating blow to my family. Here I am, a new mom all over again. I'm 34. I was in the midst of a legal operations career that was very busy, very time consuming. And, my job was very gracious, of course, through that time. But after I went through a year battling cancer, and then another year of subsequent surgeries, and then tragically losing my dad. So about a 3-year kind of, I guess, battle and fight, if you will, through a lot of different things.
Well, where did the transition? So you're going through this, you're receiving this news, you and your family are hunkering down and focusing on your health. How long before you figured, I'm gonna figure out what my next career step was? When did you feel like you were ready to go back to work? And then how did you determine that through all of these years of battling my health and losing my dad, I don't want to go back into law anymore? And how did you get the courage to jump?
I'm gonna be honest with you. The first inkling that I received of it, and I don't even think that I probably have ever even said this out loud, but I was so nervous and scared about how to battle cancer, but how to keep my job, and that's such a real thing for working corporate women sometimes, because corporate America can be kind of cutthroat. And in the sense that, they need those bodies, they need people doing the work. And so while I was going through cancer and I fought and I came out, victorious, I just, I kind of knew at the end of that first year, that long year of treatment from literally December 2012 to December 13, treatment after treatment, chemo, double mastectomy, radiation, my company went under. And it was one of those situations where they were like, okay, Tiffany, we know you're in radiation, so we can pay for your insurance for 1 month, but bye-bye, we're dissolving. And so, fortunately, I was able to kind of quickly get another position, another legal operation position, here, because, Nashville's such a big healthcare place. So I was in the correct field for legal to be able to maneuver and to be able to do what I needed to do. But, I was landed there. And that was the first kind of thought like, am I going to be doing this for the rest of my life though? Am I going to be working so much? I've just beat cancer. I have this little, now, 13-year-old child, teenager and 1-year-old toddler that I don't spend a lot of time with, because now my focus is back on working. And now I'm trying to still kind of keep my career afloat. And so, with the subsequent surgeries, with subsequent, things that I was doing within the next year, and then tragically losing my dad in 2015, that was kind of okay, I think I was in a depression. But as the champion that I think that I am, the strong woman that I think that I am, I wouldn't acknowledge that. I couldn't even vocalize that or like own up to I've been through a lot of tragedy, a lot of trauma over these last few years. It's okay to say, I can't do this. I need a break. And, it was one of those situations. And I tell people, I get chills anytime I think about it or talk about it. I said, it was nothing but God. I woke up after a great review. I had a good, the annual review you get from your boss, worked for the general counsel. He gave me a great review. And, there was one thing in my review that was a little nitpicky. And I was just kind of like, I don't know. I honed in on it. And when I mentioned it to him, he said, you had a great review. It's not a big deal. But what was brewing was something just deeper. It was just a feeling of, okay, I'm just this is not where I want to be. I found myself a little disengaged. I pride myself on my work ethic and doing great work. And I started recognizing like, hey, if I start feeling disengaged and this continues to go down this path, then what's going to happen is that my true workability work product is going to change. And I don't ever want anyone to say, hey, your work product changed. So let me recognize this in with myself and let me know what it is. And I couldn't really articulate it. I didn't know what it was. But that one night I had a burning feeling that woke me up at 3:00 in the morning. And it said, quit your job. It said, quit your job. And I tried to go back to sleep. And it was like, I felt a fire within me. Like I got warm and I woke my husband up. I think he actually woke up from all of my rumbling and walking around. I think he went to the bathroom. He came out of the bathroom. He looked at me. He said, babe, what's wrong? I said, I'm quitting my job tomorrow. And he looked at me because he was my rock. He was my rock through all the cancer treatment. I mean, best daddy ever, making bottles, changing Pampers, praying over me every night. And I mean, when I tell you, we are not a deeply religious family, but we're very spiritual. But that kind of, the way he shifted for things for me, I just, felt like he had my back. And so when I looked at him and he said that, I got that response that I needed. He said, okay. And I'm sure, at 3:00 in the morning, he didn't understand what that really meant. Right. He did not probably compute it all. I don't think I did, but that was all I needed to go to work the next day and type up my resignation letter. And I walked into my boss's office bright and early, typed up my letter. Hey, I'm going to give you 30 days, to finish out all my work and transition. If you need me to train, I don't know. I will do whatever you need me to do, but I'm out of here June 1st. And he said, I'm gonna give you a day to think about that. Cause my boss did not see it coming. I mean, I didn't even really see it coming,
right.
And so he said, I'm gonna give you a day to think about it. And I was a little humbled and a little like, Okay. Okay. So came in the very next day with the same letter that was typed the previous day. It said,
Right.
here's my resignation. And so he said, okay. And I just kind of began the process. Now, I will not lie when I tell you, I was kind of scared. I mean, I knew that I felt a sense of burnout. I felt a sense of, you know what? I beat stage 3 breast cancer. That doctor told my husband when he, kind of asked the question that I didn't want to ask and that he didn't really know that he was asking. That doctor told us that I had a 40% of chance of surviving within 5 years. And here I was almost 4.5 years out
Mm.
surviving at this
Yeah.
time. You know what I mean? And so with that being said, with my dad passing so tragically, who was like my everything, I was daddy's girl, daddy's only child. I was like, if I only live another day, another month, another week, another year, will I be able to say like I died doing everything that I wanted to do? And I don't think I looked at life or looked at my career really in that kind of way. And it was so freeing to be able to say, you know what, I don't know what's out there, but I'm just going to do what my heart is leading me to do, which
Yeah.
today is quit my job. And so I thought, I will take the summer off and I will figure it out. I'll get another legal job. Maybe healthcare is just boring me. Maybe I just need to look in a different route. And so when it was time for my kids to go back to school that fall, because we spent that summer,
Mm.
hanging out and doing all the things, swimming and going to the park, just all the things that I was not able to do those previous years with the stress and the kind of, the battle
Yeah.
that I had, forged. So I really said to myself, I'm just take this off and be cool with it. When my kids go back to school, we'll figure it out. And then it was time for the kids to go back to school, and I was like, I don't have it figured out.
Well, wait. Now
And
let me ask you this question. You pivoted to a totally different new industry, to skincare. Had you
so
ever done that before? Like, what was the burning desire to get into that?
you know what? So you know how they say, people have passions and they're like, people always know I wanted to be a lawyer. I always spoke that, but everyone would say, you're so good at makeup. So makeup actually was my first deal. Coming out of college, I was all into MAC makeup. I was Miss Mac. I had like turned on, I had 29 sorority sisters and 4 or 5 best friends. I like turned everybody on the Mac. I thought I need stock in this company because I was into makeup, got kind of good at it, playing around with it in college. And coming out of college, I was like, I really want to do this. And I worked part-time. I worked for a health insurance company. This is pre-law school, but I
Mhm.
worked for a health insurance company as my, real job. And then part-time, I worked at MAC Cosmetics. And then I also got into doing like bridal makeup and all of that. And then, my parents who are baby boomers, who are, born and raised, that you go to work, you get your career, you get your skill, you work 30, 40 years, whatever, you retire, and there's your life. They
Mhm.
were like, aren't you going back to law? Aren't you going to school? Aren't you going to law school? I was like, yeah, I'm going. So I went to law school. Then I realized, okay, yeah, this is a whole different set of challenges that I can't be over here playing with makeup. And so I
Mhm.
kind of just like said, that's a hobby. I'm gonna put it off to the side. And honestly, makeup, as we know it to be now, such a phenomenal like business, such a multi-million
Mhm.
dollar business. So many entrepreneurs individually kind of doing their thing on this, entertainment and everyday woman scene with the makeup. I mean, it's so phenomenal. But it wasn't that 20 years ago. You know what I
Right.
mean? But in all, I always wanted to be an attorney. I forged ahead with that. And so fast forward to when I quit my job, I still liked skin stuff from a small stint that I did at a Sephora. Got hired on to do makeup and really learned about all these different skincare products. Because anybody who's familiar with Sephora and Ulta and all those places, they have thousands of brands. Some in the
Right.
store, some online. And at the time, the store was new, so they had all their top educators fly in from New York, Los Angeles, and do all these trainings. And I really got into the skincare line and the skincare. And for me, and now, what I didn't mention, after my subsequent treatments with breast cancer, I did have to have my ovaries removed, which resulted in a full hysterectomy. So the reality of my body aging at the age of 35, that most women don't go through into their 50s and maybe even 60s sometimes, the vanity in me, to be honest with you, got me researching, what did that mean for my skin? What did
Mm.
that mean in terms of wrinkles and skin sagging? And I really started researching like young women, menopausal skin. And there was not a lot out there, but I actually ran into a group that was like a support group of women who were like PCOS and, didn't have their estrogen and like all this whole bundle of issues that kind of was similar to mine. And I said, you know what? I don't know. I really want to go in the skin. I've always liked to pick pimples. I've always like grabbed my husband and my kids' faces and said, here, let me get that. And I was like, I think I want to do that. So when I announced, so I did in the fall announce, I think I'm gonna go to aesthetic school. I was still not even quite sure how that was gonna be. Like I didn't know if like, okay, I'll do that for 6 months and then I'll be an attorney again. I still didn't actually really know. But what I did know was that, my family who knew historically, hey, Tiffany used to be the makeup artist. You're gonna do makeup again? I was like, nah, not that I want to get in the skin. And so it's like that's where I kind of felt the that
Yeah.
moment and that feeling of I'm where I need to be.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
put my all into school. I was the 38-year-old, 37, 38-year-old oldest person in my class. I did have some women who were kind of forging on with this aesthetics license as their second career. But, for the most part, that's a younger, I guess, set of group of women that you usually are around, or they are usually going through those kind of programs.
Mhm.
And needless to say, I was the oldest, but I was like, you know what? If I'm going to give up my career and my paycheck, I'm gonna make this work because
Yeah.
not with everything that I've always had instilled in me, I've always believed in me.
Yeah.
May not ever, always knew, not ever, but not always knew, what my path was or how this was going to work. I always feel like I can bet on myself. And I knew that if I put the work in, it would be something great. But to be honest with you, at that point, I still didn't know exactly what my niche was going to be.
Right.
I knew I loved skin. I knew I didn't like doing fake lashes. But I was
But did
like,
you
you know
always
what?
but did you go into this ultimately saying, "I'm gonna have my own business"? Was that the
So, you
ultimate
know
goal?
what? Kind of, sort of. And so I remember telling my best friend kind of nervously, because she's a digital marketing, and she has a digital marketing agency, and she's been running her business for 10 years. And I used to say to her, girl, I don't know anything about being an entrepreneur. I didn't take very many business classes. I'm a political science degree and, law degree. I didn't take a lot of business classes. And even in my jobs, I was very operational, I don't know
Mhm.
anything about it. She was like, girl, no, you don't have to have any business class experience to run. But that just sounded like a lot. And I kind of like said, that's a goal. That's a thing. I could
Yeah.
do that though.
Yeah.
Maybe one day, or maybe like, I didn't know exactly what it looked like. But
Yep.
I will say when I landed my first job out of aesthetic school, it felt like a good place. I worked for a salon, someone who was in the cosmetology field for 30 years, and she was all about running the business. That lady had an 8-chair salon and had been in business for years. And so it's kind of like my light bulb switched on that I'm where I need to be. I'm where I need to be to build my skill. Because yes, I graduated aesthetic school and I already had a lot of previous knowledge, prior knowledge, but there's still so much to learn. You
Correct.
graduate from these programs and really you get the basic to get you
Yep.
going. And she created, along with myself, kind of asking her, hey, I want to create a space where I can kind of build, learn, and grow. So we built some education into that. She allowed me to start looking at things from the business side in terms of inventory. She kind of let me handle, doing the inventory for the skincare. She did already retail skincare. So she let me choose what skincare line I wanted to use. And so with all of that came research, because I'm a very detailed, fact driven person, right?
Mhm.
So it caused me to kind of throw myself into the business side of things without even like knowing I was going into the business side of
Right.
things. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
And so it was almost like the perfect catalyst when she said to me, almost 2 years later, hey, 30 days, I'm going to be leaving. I'm gonna be shutting up this 6,000 square foot shop, and I'm going, a couple miles over here in Franklin, and it's gonna be like a salon suite kind of deal, And I was like, what? I was completely like, what are we gonna do? We're about to send our 18-year-old to college.
Yep.
She is, heading to University of Memphis in a couple months, and my husband and I are trying to still figure out room and board and meal plans and how much we're gonna have to pay after the scholarships, pay their portion. I was like, I'm not ready for this. I'm like, I'm not ready for this. So I'm gonna have to go work for somebody else. And then I thought to myself, that's nonsense, Tiffany. Like, more than like, I just kind of put my feelers out there and talked to a couple of people that I went to school with and people that I knew in the industry, and like, oh, you can come work for us. And it was like, there's nothing that I'm gonna get out of that.
Right.
I felt like my knowledge base was too wide, and I needed to kind of say, you know what, you need to just kind of go with this. If if it doesn't work, that's fine. You can shift, you can pivot. But I went with it. I gave myself 30 days of walking every day, because I'm gonna tell you, my anxiety was on 1,000. And I would walk every day after work. I just kind of walked and planned in my head. My head was going like those little bubbles that you see with numbers crunching.
But you were putting together your plan.
I was putting together my plan. And I was like, okay, so financially, I can do this, I can do that. Okay. I kind of bartered with my employer. Hey, I will review the contract for your purchase asset agreement. And I can, secure these goods. I did.
Right.
I used my skills. I used my legal skills. I used my negotiation skills. I used my, this is the Tiffany. This is how I was raised. This is the figure it out. The person. And so, I started my business August 1st, 2019, and I, had a few people on my books for that week, and I thought, okay, here we go. And so as I started running the business and started to accumulate, more machinery and things that I'm very education oriented. So I think I've mentioned that, but like within this business, I love to go to I'm one of those people that like to go to conferences. I like to go to skincare conferences. I love getting the education classes. I love the people that I'm exposed to. I love the products and the services and all the things that's out there. I like to stay on the cutting edge of things. I met Michelle Obama's former esthetician while she was in office. This was, of course, after the Obama administration had ended. And it was spring 2018. And I went to Atlanta to a skincare conference. And, I'm always looking for educators of color. So one thing that I realized with opening up my own business is that there are a lot of women who look like me who want to do things to their skin, or are interested in facials, interested in advanced facial treatments, have adult acne, have hyperpigmentation, but don't really know how to navigate that and what to do, And so I found her, and she just kind of spoke to me. She spoke to my clientele base, in terms of how to treat multicultural ethnic skin in a safe way, and how to do what is known as corrective skincare. So I've basically honed myself as a corrective skincare specialist, which is someone who corrects issues with the skin, whether they be, the dark spots and hyperpigmentation people have, acne, teenage acne is a thing, but adult acne, believe it or not, is a lot bigger thing.
Yeah.
And so, fine lines, wrinkles, all of that. So she actually wrote a book along with the dermatologist that she worked alongside while she was in Washington, D.C. She had a lot of pictures of her clients. She had a lot of, this is kind of a guide, or this is how you need to go about this. And one thing I learned early on in school was that, particularly for women and men, of color, our skin is so prone to what is called post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation, which means that we get dark spots and pigment quicker than any other races and ethnicities because our skin is more prone to it. And it's the way that our melanin is concentrated in our skin. And so therefore, I have a lot of women and men who say, hey, I get pimples and I don't even pick them and it leaves a scar. What can I do?
Well, how did you then turn all of this knowledge into a thriving business? Because you mentioned before we went to break that you opened up on the first day and you had a light schedule for that week. So you've gotten this education. How did you then grow your book of business?
So, I actually just kind of tried things. I tried, free marketing. And what I will say about these social media applications that we have, there's a lot of ability to connect with a lot of people. And I used Instagram and Facebook marketing for the huge part of it, and that was birthed by me coming from a place that, my boss, she owned her salon. She had an actual person who was trained with business development and marketing. And she actually created things and physically did things. And I said, you know what? I can do this. There's so many apps out there that allow you to create what they call creatives and ads, if you will. And, for a small fee or price, Instagram and Facebook and other social media applications, they allow you to advertise. So I started doing targeted advertising, women and men in this age group in my area who are searching for things with certain buzzwords and topics, skin, hyperpigmentation, acne, dermatology. I started searching those things and my business, slowly but surely kind of picked up. It just kind of grew. And also word of mouth. So when you get one star player, you get that one client. I had a friend of mine who I've known at that point for 10 years. I actually met her in the legal industry. Okay. And she was a friend that, a coworker who became a friend. She always struggled with adult acne and hyperpigmentation. I was like, you're going to be my guinea pig. So we set out to, do treatments on her skin and take pictures of her progress. We trial and error, we did different facials, chemical peels, and I used what I used then, which I use now, Physician Care Alliance Skin, PCA Skin. PCA Skin is a medical cosmeceutical grade, really, really efficient for those type of issues, acne and hyperpigmentation. And so I set out to, do these treatments and get her on the skincare regimen. And I mean, we talked almost every other day and kind of, I would engage with, how's it going? Let's do some follow-up, take pictures. Let's see if this works, that works. And I mean, honestly, we go back and look at pictures like we started in September and then it was December. And I was like, wait, in 3 months, we have created this. This is unbelievable. Like, this is something. And I used her pictures and I used her testimony to kind of say, hey, I know there's other men and women out there like this person, like this client. And here's the solution. There is a solution. And sometimes I know people knew that they needed it, but they just didn't know quite what they needed. And what I have learned is that a lot of clients will go to dermatologists who, give them medicines and prescriptions. And those people will say, I didn't get a lot of face time with that person. Doctors in their bedside manner can sometimes be like, okay, here's the prescription. This is what you need to do. See me in 3 months. They didn't get a lot of the hows and the whys and the sit down and let's consult. Like I said, I'm an educator and I'm also a talker. So I would be very engaged with my clients. Like, okay, let's try this. And this is why. And I read this article and this, so it would be a lot of education that I would give to these clients. And they were like, I'm getting better results than my dermatologist. So when people are feeling like that, they're naturally telling other people.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And
word of mouth.
Word of mouth really kind of got everything to explode, on top of the fact that I was doing some, you know, pretty low budget marketing, to be honest with you. I wasn't
Right.
spending a huge ton of money. And I just kind of saw it organically grow. And
See,
as it
that's
was
good.
growing,
That's
I
really
kind
good.
of, I was growing, my
Yeah.
business was growing, but I was growing. I was growing in my field and my expertise of knowledge.
Right.
And what gave me the biggest, like, honestly, like, check mark was that I started, we're in Nashville. So there's a lot of, there's several medical schools here, and there are a lot of medical professionals. So boo-hoo, COVID comes, spring of 2020. And then there's this crazy thing called mask me that is happening with all of these men and women who have to wear those, K95, mask every day, and are working, 8, 10, 12, 13 plus hours a day with masks on. And they're like, oh my gosh, I used to have beautiful flawless skin. Now I have redness, sores, acne breakouts, discoloration, like what's going on? And ironically, those same people who needed help with that also had medical knowledge themselves. So they sought out someone to help them with that. And I kind of, started getting some Meharry medical students, some Vanderbilt medical students, some dental students. I have some Vanderbilt, respiratory therapists and nurses. I have a traveling doctor. I have a traveling nurse. So I started having all of these medical professional clients come to me. And like I said, the biggest, like, I guess feel good moment for me was that here I am talking to medical professionals, and they're like, you went to law school? You sure you didn't go to medical school? And I'm like, what?
That made you feel good.
I was like, oh, I sound like a doctor. So I have this moniker that one of my friends and I kind of joked about. I was like, I'm the skin doctor. I'm like, I'm not a doctor, MD, but I'm the doctor.
Doctor.
So that's kind of like my little nickname. I'm the skin doctor, DOCTA. And so I've had several of my medical professional clients say, oh my God, you really know what you're talking about. Like, or, I've had this experience with this physician. I didn't even get this kind of knowledge. Or,
Yeah.
you're using medical terms and things. And I'm like, yeah, I'm at home reading like medical journals online.
So let me ask you
Because
this.
I was like putting everything into it,
Yeah. But so let me ask you this. So now, just to kind of bring everything full circle as it relates to the business, you started in 2019, right?
I started in August 1st, 2019. Was my first
and
day.
now we are 4 years. Well, what is it? 3 years past that.
Well, it'll actually be
21,
solid
2
years.
2 solid years in
August 1st that I've been on my own in business.
Okay.
And about 4.5 years that I've been in the industry.
And it sounds like you've had this tremendous growth. And I would say, because we got to kind of start wrapping things up here. I want to give up 2 things as we close on this journey that you have shared with us and the hard work that you have put into it. What piece of advice would you give to someone who is listening to your story, who has been on the fence about taking the jump into whatever it is that they want to do? What piece of advice would you give to the viewers and listeners out there who have been inspired by you?
I would say, the biggest piece of advice that I would give is that there are so many beautiful things on the other side of fear. Fear will cripple us. Fear will make us self-doubt and kind of settle for things that we don't know. And you have to just believe in yourself, and you have to be somewhat of a risk taker. I would say that I'm naturally that, but not everyone's naturally a risk taker. But sometimes if you have that belief and you just step out there on faith, it can be so rewarding. And I mean, you have to tell yourself that it's okay. You're going to make mistakes along the way. If you figure out that you don't like this, guess what? You can always pivot. That's the beautiful thing about our life. And that's what I started realizing from a bigger scope of things. It's like, as long as I have another day, I have another day. You know what I mean? So that means if I decide tomorrow I want to go and be an attorney again, I guess what I can do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I decide I want to be a psychologist, then I can go on that path. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's all about like, it's the here, it's the now, and it's fear will kind of create this wall and separate you from your goodness, your greatness. You know what I mean? And I just said, you know what? I'm gonna bet on myself. I'm gonna put the hard work in, and we'll see. You know.
Well, how important was it? How important was it for your husband's support in all of this?
You know what? His support came immediately that day when he told me, okay, you can quit your job. And I mean, you know, we have bumps in the road from a financial standpoint. I'm going to be honest. People, that's the biggest question people ask me. Well, I mean, I have a mortgage, bills, you know, how do you do that? And I was like, you know what? It's humbling. But you have to be like, you know what? I'm going to do what I need to do to make sure the roof stays over me and my children's head. We get fed. We have lights. We have our basic necessities. But if I have to cut back on some of this frivolous things, shopping, you know, dining out, traveling in order to get what I want, you would be surprised by the amount of money you can really live off of. You know what I mean? And I tell people that, you know, now I will say I'm fortunate and blessed to have a husband who's gainfully employed and who is like, okay, I'm gonna continue doing what I need to do, babe. And I mean, I'm not gonna lie, sometimes I think in the midst of it, he probably was like, okay, now what are we doing? You know, but he believes in me too. And the fact that he believed in me kind of helped me say, well, I believe in me too. You know, we can do this.
That support is important.
That support is important. And I think that, you know, at the end of the day, you have to have that support. You have to have some, you know, I don't know, you have to have the support, but you have to believe in yourself.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And like when you are doing good things and when you are like in your best, healthiest, positive mindset, I think that it creates that kind of vibe for the people around you. So, you know, if I believed in me and I felt like everything was going to be okay, I think it kind of helped supported him in that kind of, okay, babe,
and let him know, it's going to be all right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And I mean, and to see the results. And I mean, the results do not come without the work.
That's
now,
right.
I will say, you know, there's endless, like to set this up and still to this day, 2 years in, I have a lot of nights I don't sleep a lot. You know, I take my off days to learn, educate, create, you know. I still kind of always trying to push and elevate and make sure that I am staying on top of my game so that my business can continue to be the success that it is. You know, I just will say, you know, favor is there. God, I felt like, you know, when I beat breast cancer, I said there's something else out there for me. You know what I mean? God's not through with me yet. And so I feel like I'm living in that mindset, you know, and I'm thanking him every day. And I am, you know, just trying to like, you know, take it each day at a time.
Right.
You know, so I just will tell people that, like I said, it's great. There's great things on the other side of fear. Know that whatever you put your energy and hard work into, something can come out of it and will come out of it. And, you know, just keep your faith.
Amen. Well, so let us know. So right before I wrap up, I want everyone to be able to get in touch with you, even if they are not in Nashville, to actually come and see you in person.
Yes.
Order product from you. So let us know how we can reach you.
Yes. So I have a website. It is www.skin by TJMK. Those are my initials. .com. And so that website does have a link to book services with me, but yes, it also has a shop. So I retail, I do retail PCA skin. I also retail Black Girl sunscreen because I found a company that I really, really like that it goes great with skin of color and provides us that sunscreen. And I also have other couple of skincare items that I retail. So that is all in the US.
Website.
It's all on the website. I ship throughout the US. And I also offer 15-minute virtual consultations. I do it through FaceTime or Google Duo, Instagram video chat, and they're free. So it allows clients to kind of meet me, talk to me. I give a little bit of knowledge on, home care routines, diet, nutrition, product suggestions, as well as services suggestions. So that's a way to kind of get an intro of, hey, what is this all about? If I were wanting to come and do this, what does that mean and what can I do? So that's the way to get in touch with me. And you can also, I'm on Instagram and I'm on Facebook, both under my business name, Skin by TJMK.
Beautiful, beautiful. And I just want to mention to everyone, she is naturally faced in this video. So you can see how the skin looks. And like I said, and she has done my skin as well too. She also takes care of my daughter's skin, and she does a wonderful job. So I can be a testimony to that. Tiffany, thank you so much for sharing your story with us today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It was such a humbling feeling to even have you ask for me to share, but absolutely.
It was so much. Important story to share. And like I said, it's one of resilience. So everyone take note of what can be done, even out of a season of turmoil. There's always a season of blessing to follow.
Amen. Amen.
So everybody, I want you to make sure that you check out this episode. You can find season 1 and season 2 of the Phylanice Nashe Experience podcast on all of your favorite podcast platforms, including Amazon and iHeartRadio. You can also find all of these episodes on my website, PhylaniceNasheExperience.com. Don't forget to visit my YouTube channel, Phylanice Nashe Experience Podcast YouTube channel as well, where you can watch this episode. And make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow me on social media, Phylanice Nashe on IG, Facebook, and LinkedIn. I want to make sure that everyone continues to seek out vaccination. It is important so we can return back to normal. I want everyone to stay safe, stay well, and I'll see you next time. Peace.